Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, New Japan had to say farewell to one of their most amazing wrestlers and characters that we all known throughout the years. As you know, there's been many people who played this character, and I'm talking about Tiger Mask 4. Now, before you guys ask, yes, there's been 3 other Tiger Masks in the past. The second one, in case anybody knows, he wasn't really part of New Japan. He was part of All Japan, and that was, of course, um, what's his name? Misawa from Noah, of course. He was the second Tiger Mask. But this one, of course, he made his retirement earlier this year, and of course, he was making the best. He will be in the main event and exhibition match with 2 wrestlers, of course, and you guys don't want to miss out. And then, of course, we move on with NXT, as you know. We're still coming off from, of course, the Great American Bash, but however, in this particular, we do have #1 contenderships for the NXT Women's North American Championship, the NXT Championship, and of course, the main event features the NXT Women's Championship. Kendall Gray makes her first title defense against a wrestling legend, of course. Her reputation has preceded her, and of course, she is a member of the Hart family. We're talking about Natty. But the real question is, this would put Kendall Gray to the test. Can she survive someone who's a well-recognized wrestler in the WWE? That is something I guess we all going to be finding out. And then, of course, as always, we wrap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates, giving you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world of wrestling, it's not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got to do Nagisa Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers, let's get started. So let's begin with New Japan Pro Wrestling with Tiger Mask retirement match. Alright, New Japan Pro Wrestling Tiger Mask retirement match. Now, as you all know, Tiger Mask announced his retirement earlier this year, or was it last year, whatever. But anyway, this was, of course, the last time many fans get to see him. Now, for those who are not familiarized with Tiger Mask, let me give you guys a bit description about him. Tiger Mask is a character that happened back, I think, in the 70s or something or so, where, of course, in the comic books, they put the Tiger Mask used to work for the Yakuzas until he turned his back on him. He became like a local hero in Japan, but if he goes like up to foreign wrestle outside of Japan, like foreigners, he's mostly been considered as the villain. Now, there have been four wrestlers who have, of course, portrayed this character. The original one, and then the second one, which was originally not part of the New Japan, he was part of All Japan, and that was portrayed by Mitsuhara Misawa, who, if many of you know him from All Japan, and not to mention the founder of Noah, of course. And I forgot who was the third guy who played him, but the one who is currently who retired, in fact, of course, is the current Tiger Mask. Now, I think some of you are going to question: is there going to be another guy? There's been talk about having someone else to play him, and it's still unclear who. There are those that saying it could be one of the young lions who currently went on excursion. Not sure yet, but we'll see. But anyway, our opening match is a 6-man tag team match. We have Tyson Nakahara teaming up with Togi Makame and Toru Yano. They take on Satoshi Kojima, Yuji Nagata, and of course Shota Umino, who, as you all know, is still coming out after that suffering big loss against Gabe Kidd and losing the IWGP Global Heavyweight title to him. And I'm sure this is his way of trying to get back. Now, nothing too special about this, but of course Shota Umino teams up with two of the strongest and legendary wrestlers, of course, Yuji Nagata and Satoshi Kojima. But unfortunately, Nakahara ended up on the wrong side of the Boston Crab by Shota Umino, and just like that, he tapped out. Next up, we have the United Empire, consisting of Zayn J, Jacob Osnion, Francesco Chiara, Great Khan, and Jake Lee. They take on, of course, the combine of Ryosuke Taguchi teaming up with the guys from the Goto Revolutionary Army, consistent of Tatsuya Matsumoto, Yoshihashi Hiroki Goto, and our current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Yo. Now, of course, Francesco Chiara, as you know, he is not done with Yo. He still wants to have another opportunity for the belt, but however, he lost fair and square. And I'm sure he's going to look for another way to get back into the title consistency, which is something I'm sure he's going to want. But however, of course, United Empire, as you know, since reforming with a new direction, they are determined to prove that they are the dominant force now running New Japan. And that's exactly what they did when Jake Lee took out, of course, Matsumoto, because A, he's the least experienced, and that kind of plays out. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Next up, we have the Unbound Company, Geto, teaming up with the Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuto Ice, taking on, of course, Yato, Bolton Oleg, and Aaron Wolf. Now, nothing too special, but however, of course, Bolton Oleg and Yuto Ice can challenge for, if they pin, of course, Bolton Oleg, who is the current New Japan Strong Openweight Champion, and of course, Aaron Wolf, the current Never Openweight Champion, they could have opportunities as singles competitors. And I'm sure that's something they would like to do. But it was a pretty good match, but in the end, it was Aaron Wolf with the Triangle Lancer onto Geto, and just like that, it was over. But later, we did see a bit of a brawl taking place outside the ring, and you know how that turns out. Yuto Ice was brawling with a Bolton Oleg and that sort of thing, so that's kind of very interesting to see. Now, our next match, we have, of course, the House of Losers, consisting of Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Sho, Doki, Sanada, and Ren Narita, taking on Masatora Yasuda, Master Wato, El Desperado, Taichi, and Yu Uemura. But of course, as you know, Sho likes to talk trash during the match, but however, thank God for Taichi and El Desperado, like trying to tell him to shut up. But of course, we knew that when it comes to the House of Losers, we know these guys are determined to win by any means necessary, even if they cheat, because they claim it was a fair fight. BS. It was not a fair fight. They cheated their way through, and that's what they always do. But however, it was Yasuda who ended up on the wrong side of the pile driver by Sho, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have TMDK, consisting of Hartley Jackson, Rohei Oiwa, Kosa Fujita, and Zack Sabre Jr. They take on the Unbound Company, Daiki Nagai, Taiji Shimori, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. Now, obviously nothing too special, but however, if someone pinned, of course, the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, Yota Tsuji, they will get an opportunity of the belt. And that kind of plays out in that perspective. But however, that did not happen, because in the end, it was Kosa Fujita that put away Daiki Nagai with the German suplex, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, but before we head out to the matches involving, of course, Tiger Mask, well, we had a surprise visit. Yushin Thunder Liger, as many of you remember, he retired a couple of years ago. But they did have, he and Tiger Mask did have a bit of a rivalry, and that's something, of course, many people who are big time New Japan fans knows what I'm talking about, and that plays out too. Now, Tiger Mask did have 2 exhibition matches. The first one was against Dynamite Kid Tommy Billington, and of course, the match was pretty good. I have to say, this was more like a pretty fun one, and then of course, but unfortunately, this match ended in a 5-minute time limit draw. And then, of course, he faces his longtime nemesis, the new version of Black Tiger. Now, for those who are not familiarized with Black Tiger and Tiger Mask are rivals. Now, in the story-wise of Tiger Mask, when Tiger Mask betrayed the Yakuza, of course, the Yakuza decided to form a brand new Tiger, and that's, of course, the Black Tiger. Now, there have been many wrestlers who portrayed Black Tiger over the years, but mostly they've been played by foreign wrestlers in the past. But there have been wrestlers who played in Japanese before. Amongst those Black Tigers was, in fact, Eddie Guerrero was one of them. Rocky Romero is, of course, another one too. Silver King, and right now is Magnus, of course, from CML. So there have been various people who portrayed Tiger Mask over the years, and that plays out. But of course, the match ended in another time limit draw, but later they wanted to restart it, and it ended quickly thanks to Tiger Mask after 3 minutes or something by pinfall, and just like that, over. Now, of course, the ceremony with Tiger Mask retiring was the most amazing one. He had people that came around with the flower bouquets. Of course, we had Yushin Thunder Liger, Tanahashi, who else? The White Dragon, I forgot, Fujiwara himself, and a few others. But however, the biggest surprise was the OG Tiger Mask. Yes, that's right. The original Tiger Mask made his appearance, along with, of course, with Super Tiger, who is another type of mantle played out too. But however, that's how it rolled. And of course, the Tiger Mask that was retiring, he was so happy to see him, and not to mention he calls Tiger Mask senpai, since he is his mentor. And that plays out too. I mean, there's a bit of the Tiger Mask lineage that you guys wouldn't believe if I told you. I may do a discussion video when I get a chance to go back on that. But anyway, and of course he did have a bit of a small exhibition match with them, like a lockdown between them. And of course the OG still has it. It's more like, I don't know if the Japanese were saying that he still has it. I mean, yeah, and that's pretty good. But of course he gets his 10-bell salute, and he gets to ride off into the sunset. I'm sure we will see him in certain occasions, but only time will tell. But as for the new Tiger Mask, we will wait and see when he will be making his appearance. And that's something I'm sure many of us are looking forward to. But as of right now, we're done with this one. Let's move on with our last and final review, NXT. Okay, final review. We opened up with Callie Armstrong, as you all know. Well, as you all saw what happened last week, she attacked Kendall Gray while she was doing the commentary table, of course, or was it 2 weeks ago? But yeah, I mean, and that pretty much what was going on. And she got the idea from Mr. Stone saying, do something about it. And I think this is one of those moments. But Callie Armstrong, as you know, it's no secret about Kendall Gray and her together. And many of you may remember it was Kendall Gray who defeated her for the Evolve Women's Championship and Evolve. But as for Callie Armstrong, she always stood by her word that she's the real deal, and she wasn't wrong about that. But that's the idea what she wanted. So she wants a shot of the NXT Women's Championship. However, she's not the only one. So was Lola Vice. As many of you know, she does have a consensual rematch. And Kelani Jordan, who's been aiming for this belt ever since she started whining like a little girl, has been aiming for this too. So it led into a brawl between Callie Armstrong knocking about Lola and Kelani. So the real question is, who's going to be, of course, aiming for this belt. However, it later was told that there's going to be a #1 contendership for whoever will challenge Kendall Gray for the belt next week. So we'll see what happens till then. But speaking of number one contenderships, our first opening match is for the NXT Tag Team Championship number one contendership. We have Dark State, Osiris Griffin and Cutler James versus who? Oh yeah, OTM, Bronco Lima and Lucian Price versus Sean Legacy and Dorian Van Dux versus Birthright, consisting of Stax and Uriah Connor. Now, obviously, we know that the Birthright, most specifically Lexis King and Charlie Dempsey, would try to run interference. Darkseid may have that same kind of thing with, of course, with Leon Lennox. So everything became chaotic. Saquam even showed up, distracting it, but Leon Lennox is like, "Oh hell no, you're not going to ruin this one." But apparently he did. But however, we did see, of course, Birthright and OTM get into each other's faces, so that kind of sets it up. But of course, Uriah Connor ended up being alone, being taken out, and it was, of course, the combination of Sean Legacy and Dorian Van Dux that took out Connors, but it was Sean Legacy that picked up the pinfall after the 450, 1, 2, 3, number one contender. So that means they will face, of course, the Vanity Project for the tag belts. Now, Jada Parker put out a vignette. As you know, she doesn't believe what Natty has been telling her, that she is soft and all that. But she doesn't respect her because, you know, she tried to act like she's all better than her. And she's not done with her, so she still wants another shot of her. But at the same time, she feels if she defeats her, she can go and make her way straight into the NXT Women's Championship constituency. That is something that I know for a fact she's been aiming for. Now, Saquon actually ended up, of course, in an interview. Yes, he knows that he's not done with Dark State. He knows he's going to need friends, but he knows that people don't trust him because he used to be a Dark State, so he has to change a new leaf. And that's the real question. How is he going to change? I mean, you were part of a faction that ravaged NXT for months, so we'll see where that leads to. Our next match, we have Tank Ledger taking on Keanu Carver. Now, this is a measure of payback at the Great American Bash. As you all know, Keanu Carver was upset that EK Prosper, as you know, beat him. And Tank and Hank, of course, were telling him, hey, he beat you in fair and square. He does earn the opportunity of the AAA Latin American Championship. But Keanu Carver, like saying, he doesn't deserve it. But he felt like he deserved it more. And he took out Hank by putting him through a table. And now Tank is up for a measure of revenge. But majority of the time, Keanu Carver was decimating, of course, Tank until he took him out. Bam! And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see, of course, a vignette with, of course, Naruko. It seems that he is not done with Tony D'Angelo. So basically, he is still aiming, of course, for the NXT Championship. But the real question is, when will that happen? We know that there's others that want a shot of this belt, so we'll see where that goes too. Now, while these guys were in the room watching, of course, Naruko, Tate Wild like saying, "Man, I would love to have a match with him," and Cam Hendricks like, "He'll beat you up." See, that's the problem with you. And then, of course, while they was happening, apparently Cam Hendricks was in fact talking smack behind Mason Rook's back, of course, that sort of thing, and he wanted to deal with it. And Tate Wild tried to say, look, we don't have to do this here, but, you know, you do have a point. So that sort of thing. So I can't wait to see Mason Rook versus Cam Hendricks. Now, the members of the dungeon, as you know, well, apparently some things are happening. Well, Natty has her title match, but Layla Diggs is involved in a number one contendership for the NXT Women's North American title in a fatal four-way. So that's where we head up next. So Layla Diggs joins Izzy Dame, who is a former champion. Thea Hill, also former champion, and then, of course, Lizzie Rain, who is you, but she is getting the fans behind her. And I thought this match was chaotic. I mean, it was crazy. Nobody from the dungeon was helping out Layla Diggs, and she pulled it off beautifully. Okay, Lizzie Rain took out, of course, Thea Hill with the Thunderstruck, but it was Layla Diggs with the moonsault onto Thea Hill, and just like that, 1, 2, 3. Number one contender. So that means she'll be facing Zarya, but let's see how that plays out too. Now, as you all know, Nikki Blackheart made her presence known a week ago. However, she now goes by Reina Volcan, so it's a pretty interesting name, so I can't wait to see what she's going to aim for. But a part of me is no idiot. She will probably aim for the NXT Championship, the NXT Women's Championship, so we'll see about that. Now, Tavian Heights was in the ring to conduct a promo, and of course, he explained what kind of a jerk he has been recently. He even admitted to everyone, yes, I was jealous of Miles Bourne, how he was succeeding and all that. But the Vanity Project are like, you need to stop it. This is getting boring and all that. And of course, Tavian Heights went on a 3-on-1 scenario, but thank God for Miles Bourne showing up. So we could see those two team up again, and that is something I think many people will love to see. Now, Noam Dar and Romeo Moreno, of course, were talking, and they were even congratulating Legacy and Dux on their win. And of course, we know that Dar and what's his name, Moreno are planning to see what they're going to do, how they're going to make this whole thing work, because they know they can build magic, and that's something that they're looking forward to that. Now, let's see. Our next match is Charlotte Hill versus Nico Vance. Of course, Charlotte Hill, as you know, he is someone you don't want to mess around with, of course. But, however, it seems that Tristan Angels is not done with Charlotte Hill after he humiliated him badly, and of course he wants to prove to the world that he's an embarrassment, he doesn't deserve to become Mr. NXT, that sort of thing. He may have caused a distraction, making, of course, lose to, of course, Nico Vance, but however, Charlotte Hill is not done with Tristan Vance, so he ran like a coward. But however, Nico Vance, as you know, he should have known better, that he might have thought you got rid of Sean Spears. Well, he got a measure of payback by whacking him with the chair. So let's see how that rolls up next time they see each other. Our main event is the NXT Championship, Natty versus, of course, Kendall Gray, and this is Kendall Gray's first title defense, and she's facing someone who has more experience and knows exactly what she needs to do. Of course, Natty was going to try to bring the pain to her, and that's exactly what she tried to do. Even the Dungeon tried to get involved, even when they tried to attack Ren Sinclair, but thank God for Lola Vice, who still has issues with the Dungeon, so that kind of sets that out right there too. But in the end, it was Kendall Gray with the shades of gray and took her out, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And then, of course, in the post-match, we did see, of course, Jada Parker showing up, and as you probably can guess, she is not done with Natty, so you can at least see how that rolls up. But however, of course, the three competitors fighting for the number one contendership, well, it seems that they are ready to see who will be the next person to take a crack at her. So we'll see where that goes from there. But as of right now, we're officially done with all reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing to wrap up our episode, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with upcoming events. We only have GCW updates on that only. Now, as you know, they'll be making their debut in Manchester, New Hampshire on the 12th of July. Another match has been added. We have, of course, a six-person tag match. We have Charles Mason, Slade, and Perro. They take on Viperous, Gabby Forza, and Anakin Murphy. Then we have the Rude Awakening on August 1st in Minneapolis. Bear Bronson versus Shotzi Blackheart. And then, of course, another name has been added for the upcoming 20 years of the Bad Boy, which is the anniversary of Joey Janela, that will happen on the 6th of August in Asbury Park. They announced Reed Titus will be participating. Now, on to some developments here for everyone. 2 congratulations. The first one, we want to congratulate, of course, Tony D'Angelo, who is now a father, of course. He just announced the name of his son, who just recently born. So congratulations. I'm sure you're going to be a wonderful father. And we also want to give congratulations to Dan the Dad and Yoshiko Hasegawa. They just recently got married, and this was news I had no idea that they were seeing. I had no idea these two were in fact in a relationship. I mean, we're seeing Yoshi wrestlers announcing their marriages out of nowhere, and it's been well documented in the past that celebrity Japanese wrestlers, of course, they keep their relationship and marriages quiet, you know, and just like that. But of course, Dan the Dad put out a statement about, everything. I'll read it out for you. It is great pride and joy that I am now able to announce that Yoshiko Hasegawa and I are getting married. I first met Yoshiko while traveling Japan to perform with Gambari Pro Wrestling, which I have witnessed, of course, and reviewed. And through it all long difficulty process, we were able to plan our marriage and her arrival to the United States. Though we have faced many challenges, our love for each other and support of our friends and family have allowed us to keep our relationship strong, even over long distance. Please support us in our new journey together. Yeah. So, Dan, Yoshiko, congratulations. May have a happy marriage in the have a happy marriage in the future, guys. Now, moving on. House of Glory has announced that they are leaving Thrill TV, and they'll be, of course, streaming their live shows on YouTube. Now, we know there's been recent developments about wrestling promotions leaving the Thriller TV on platform, and of course, and that's been well documented. So we'll see how that plays out too. Um, Mighty Gold's very own Nagisa Tachibana. Well, it was announced that she'll be out of action for quite some time due to an injury on her right knee, and that is something, of course, you don't want to have, of course, in your career. Um, Fightful Select reports that WWE has an interest in Richard Holliday. Now, we haven't seen him for quite some time. I know he appeared in many promotions, of course, but we'll see what that goes from there with them. Now, Wrestling Observer reports that Jack Perry has still not re-signed with WWE. We know there's been talks about, of course, negotiations of a new deal or so, but nothing yet has been revealed. I know that Tony Khan mentioned this either on the media call or the media scrum about Jack Perry. Either, I don't remember which one, but he was talking about negotiations, that sort of thing. Hiromu Takahashi, well, it's been reported and believed that he'll be making his presence at the Performance Center soon. We know that there's been interest in him recently, so we'll see about that. Now, Chris Jericho recently talked about, of course, meeting up with people in TNA and that sort of thing, like back in 2007. And this is what he said. We met at the Cheesecake Factory in Tampa, Florida. Sorry, Cheesecake Factory, let me give you a little wrestling lesson. I am talking about going back to W, and I've been off for a few years. I'm thinking about 2007, and that was the time Vince had a magical number of salary. He wanted to number magic. I won't say what it is, but it's the highest that you could not get, no matter how, where you were. It didn't matter because Vince at the time, if you headline, you are the mainstream event, and you were getting paid more money, criteria, etc., etc. But the base minimum was certain number, wasn't coming close. I was like, well, let me see if we can arrange a meeting with Double J and have a conversation with TNA and see what happens. Now, what happened was, so the real behind the scenes storyline. So my cousin was in town at the time and said, just got to sit over there and commented on what you see. And there was an email addressed to some people in the wrestling dirt sheet that might be interest Jericho. So I'm not saying I wasn't entertaining the idea, but 2 days later, guess who came back with a magical number? So yeah, so it seems that he was planning to go to TNA and meet up with that, but however, of course, Vince is like, nope, I can't have you there, so that sort of thing. This is before AEW, guys, in case anybody asked. Now, a very interesting topic has come around. Many of you may remember mentioned Yuki Kamifuku is retiring. However, her tag partner, of course, Wakana Uehara, kind of gave her thoughts about this whole thing with her retiring, and this is what she said. Quite a while ago, she had mentioned things like that, things to me like that. I needed to start thinking about my own retirement soon. So even so, I thought she'd be around for a bit longer. I know the best thing to do is to send off happily, but to be honest, I wasn't fully processed my emotions yet. Even after she retires, I want to remember I want her to remember me forever. And I haven't found that right words yet, but I want to convey my own version of thank you. Even at school, I was the type who got pushed into being a class representative, senior model student. At press conference, similar events, I was used to only safe, harmless things, and I think I look at like a boring person from the outside. But after meeting Kamifuku-san, I became able to show a bit of my unique side. I want to see her. I want her to see I have become an interesting woman. I want to show her, look how much I can do now, and I've been able to help so much by Kamifuku-san, and I have caused her plenty of trouble too. So I really want to show her best side, my best side. So yeah, so she learned a lot from her. Of course, she hasn't been in the wrestling business for a couple of years. I don't know how long Kamifuku has been, but yes, um, I'm sure she'll see her completely, and I wouldn't be surprised if those two will end up in the final match. That's the thing. So we'll see. So that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. We have AEW Beach Break, so a lot of things is going to take place. But the real question is, will Kenny Omega survive MJF and go to to Wembley Stadium for All In against Will Ospreay? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And I know the International Championship is on the line. Chris Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa, that. And of course, we have Evolve. So we'll see how things go as well for those two events. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.